this is a strange question because I don't think you can answer any other way but yes. But do you think when you got the job, did you merit it? I mean, were you the best of an average bunch, or did you really merit the England manager's job at the time? Because I remember Brucey saying that he thought he was in for it, Pardew in being a president of his own fan
Brucey
club.
got interviewed for it. I know that. I know that for a fact. Like you mean. So I mean, I got it.
What made him give it to
you? I think probably my interview.
But what about that interview?
Presentation-wise.
But what would you have told England guys that are sitting there, Martin Glenn and all those clowns that I don't have a great deal of admiration for, Sam, quite frankly. What are you going to do to improve the current state of play? We are where we are.
Mentally more than anything else, because they went on a huge amount about how they seemed to struggle mentally about the fact that there was a bit on Joe Hart, wasn't there, where
he was overstimulated,
going a little bit way over the top, like you mean. So you know how to control your emotions as a manager.
Yeah.
So when your stomach's churning, like, and you're talking to the players and you're nervous, that the exterior is calm and it delivers what it needs to deliver, and that comes over time and experience, and you get better and better at that, and then you get the sense of what you need to say or deliver at that particular period of time. But deep down inside, you're still nervous, and but if you show that emotion or you show those nerves, people pick up on that, and you can't get the
like
best
a
out
dog
of it.
Smells fear and bites you, right?
Yeah. So being positive about the England team and what the England team could achieve and the changes we could make together about this new era and going forward, like I mean, which was it's the most nervous I've ever been in my entire life.
Because it's such a big job.
As a manager, it's such a big job.
Yeah.
And believe you me, the wife, that was the last thing she wanted me to do was take it.
Not giving you a pass, because I think sometimes you football managers, are your own worst enemies. I actually felt it was the FA's fault. And I think I've said this to you before. If I haven't, I'm going to say it to you now. I think that you would have crawled across broken glass to have got that England manager's job. And I'm not taking a piss out of you and saying that you shouldn't have got the right money for doing it.
No.
And I thought it was their job to make it clear to you in their contract that you don't do anything else. You don't have any commercial engagements anywhere else. You're the England manager. The only thing that you focus on is being the England manager. We don't want to see you doing any commercial endorsements. We don't want to see you talking on media channels. We don't want any of that. It's all England manager's job. Now, if you don't want the England manager's job under that condition, then you don't take it. And if you do, then Sam Allardyce would never have been sat in that meeting helping Scott McGarvey or not helping Scott McGarvey, would he?
I mean, yeah. I mean, and by the way, it's...
I'm not giving you a pass for it.
No, I don't expect a pass, because I still kick myself today, even though I don't think it... I think they could have...
I think they should have looked... I think they should have stood by it.
Yeah, I think that that in the contract terms, you're absolutely right. Yeah. But actually on the day, all they needed to do was take a bit of time to realise how false it was. Right, because it took a huge amount of time for me to show everybody how false it was. But that's another story. But on the other side of this is when they talk about salary, I reduced my salary by 45% to take that job from what I was earning at Sunderland.
But that's my point precisely.
It wasn't about the money. That was about,
I know it wasn't. That wasn't the point I was making.
But anyway.
The point I was making was, and it was in defence of you, right? I think you should have known better. But also, by the same token, they should have put you in. They should have done their jobs better. It's not giving you a pass because you sat across me. It's what I've always believed. I believe that if the FA want you to be the England manager, they should lay the rules down. And if you don't want those rules, then don't take the England manager's job, which is you don't do bugger all else. And then you'd have known. And then if you'd have done it, you'd never been able to have an excuse to say, well, I didn't know. I shouldn't have been there in the first place.
True.
And I've got to put myself in the way of a sting that ultimately has cost me my job. Do you think it badly dented your reputation? And have you ever recovered from it?
Oh, I've never recovered, no.
Right.
I never will. It's always, what would I have done? What could I have achieved? Could I have done any better? Will I have done any better? I should. But then you look at the past, and I don't dwell on it too much.
I think it's best not to. I've got the same situation.
I actually go, okay. It still comes into my mind sometimes, of course it does, especially when England games are playing in tournaments. But then I go, right, that's enough of that. Let's move on. I mean, and that's certainly the Crystal Palace what Steve Parry said to me, what a load of rubbish, what a load of crap that was, Sam.
Yeah.
Getting rid of you for that, right? I mean, you just can't believe it. He said the way they did it was the most distasteful, and I've got a confidentiality clause, so I'm not
going to ask you to talk about
about.
it. I think,
But
I
when
think
I
they
got to Palace, I was like, this is heaven, because I'm back in football,
Yeah.
and it's going to completely absorb my mind 24/7 on trying to work a way out to save Crystal Palace, like you mean.
Yeah.
So
No, I remember watching it,
and that was like,
I remember watching it and observing on it at the time, and I remember thinking at the time, I thought the FA had a change of mind about you, and I think they use it as an excuse. I think this is going. You're not going to like this, but I'm going to say it, and I'm not in a popularity contest with you. I think they didn't think you were as sophisticated enough as they wanted you to be, and the media presentation that they wanted you to be an England manager of a certain culture and creed, and I think they used it as an excuse. And I think that they threw you under the bus. They could have backed you. They could have turned around and gone, well, hang on a second, we'll take a pause here. We'll have a proper investigation into this, and we'll come back round in full circles and tell you that we're not going to be run by the media. We're going to be run by facts.
yes. But the other side of that is that, did I change too much that they didn't particularly like? So that might be true. And what I thought later down the line was, did I do too much too soon that upset them? Because if you remember, I insisted on cancelling a friendly at Wembley before we went to play our first game in the qualifiers, because I said, if I'm coming to meet the team for the first time, and I have to play a friendly game at Wembley 3 days before we play the most important game, one of the most important games England's ever had after the failure in the Euros.
Yeah. I want to be together.
I want to be together, and I want the players need to get to know me. I want to get to know them. And that was maybe that.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what?
Started setting it about.
And then I started changing all these rules. The one thing I regret the most is obviously that meeting Scott, of course.
But that's life, Sam.
But not be given the opportunity to defend myself. At the FA. But
listen, I mean, I'm in the same place as you, mate. I walked out of Palace having lose 50 million quid, and everyone telling me that I was a failure. I know the truth. I know the reality of what happened. I know the people that were beneficial from it. Your mate Parish and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But I've got to live with that.
all right.
And you live with it, and you go, that's not true. That's not fair. But do you know what? It's sometimes in life you take the ups and downs, and none of us complain when it's going our way. And in the end, I lost my boyhood club, the club that my father played for, the club that I put my heart and soul in, whether I got things right and wrong. And you lost an opportunity to manage England.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you about that, because it'll lead me into that now. You must be watching what's gone on. I can't help but be honest about my views. I think Southgate's the luckiest English manager God ever put breath into, with some of the draws that have got. Yeah, I get it. He's done well.
Yeah.
He's done some of the things that you were talking about wanting to do, which is bring the media closer to the
Yes,
players, get rid of the
absolutely,
divisions. And I'm assuming that would have been things that you'd have thought about
I think
as well.
he's the perfect personality for the FA.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I have to say, before I even got interviewed, the only reason I got the job is because Gareth turned it down.
Is that right?
Yeah. He told me so.
Right. That's a strange one.
So
That's a strange one.
you know, perhaps
But that mean you had, whatever people may or may not say about you, you had 2 or 3 top 8 finishes. You're managing some of the biggest clubs around, Newcastle being one of them, which are challenging football clubs. You had a domestic managerial career that gives you an England manager's job, gives you the right to be in the room. Managing Middlesbrough and taking them down to the Championship and being an FA man, I don't know what I make of that, Sam. When you say he told you, how did he tell you that?
Well, we were just having a conversation because he was under 21s coach and all that. That they asked him, and he said he wasn't ready, which I thought was fantastic in terms of, if you're not ready, for that pressure. And believe you me, that is the pressure you get. Like, I mean, there's no more pressure in that job than the England manager's job, and he's building his way and finding. And I think that was a great decision by him, because of he was looking at his lack of experience as a manager.
Well, he soon was bleeding ready, because 5 months later he was
in.
in.
Yes, but he took it. Yeah. You know, and you can't knock that. You can't knock him as a human being.
I'm not going to.
You know, we can't knock him as a human, but we can all look at, say, what comes with inexperience we may have seen in terms of decision making in the dugout. That is a crucial area of football And particularly today, your decisions on substitution, particularly now we've gone up to 5,
Yeah.
and tactical changes while the game's going on, is a particular area that the longer you do it, the better you get at it.
Cool. Sure.
And perhaps his inexperience, because everybody's talked about Gareth not.
He's had 3 tournaments now,
Yeah.
and I'm not asking you to get involved in getting
No,
clickbait
I'm not
commentary,
gonna
right? Because I think you're old enough and wise enough to not want to do that.
Yeah.
But I do think there's salient points, right? Because going into the first tournament in the World Cup in 2018, he gets an opportunity to beat the Croatians. We didn't beat anyone that we shouldn't have beaten. We beat everyone in that tournament we should have beaten. We got draws that other managers, you included, would have bit your arms off for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And you get to a semi-final, you're in control of the game against the Croatians in the first half. And you know the Croatians are going to get better in the second half because they couldn't do anything else.
Risk.
Right, until he doesn't change it. We get to the European Championship final, and we are 1-0 up, and he doesn't change it. If you were managing England when you're playing against Italy in the final of the Euros, what would you have done differently?
Well, I'd do it a lot quicker. But you often find when the opposition score, the manager puts a sub on.
Yeah.
And it's long. That's no good, is it?
No, you're reacting rather than being proactive.
Yeah. So I'm going, I need to put a sub on now because I need to stop this wave.
Yeah.
So a lot of my coaching is about like understanding when you're not having the best time, you should be intelligent enough to change it yourself.
Yeah.
So somebody should say, the captain would say, look, let's tighten up for 10 minutes. Forget about...
Change the momentum.
Forget about playing out from the back. Let's get it in there and half push up and let's keep them there for a while. Because there's nothing worse than the tension you feel when the opposition get in your box.
And it's building up.
And I'm looking for information of my right-hand man, or I'm looking for information from my sports scientist coach who's got to spot maybe a player that's tiring, that's his responsibility. Or the assistant manager goes, do you think you should change this? And I go, yeah, maybe, like you mean, give us. And then I absorb that and then go, right, we're going to change this. And he'll go, why? And I'll say, well, I think we're going to do that because it's going to control the game better and it's going to get us in there and it's going to get us back in the game a bit more. Because if I don't change something, they're going to score.
Gonna happen,
They're going to score.
Because that's the accusation I'm making.
They're going to score.
I'm making about Southgate is that we've got someone that's getting us to a certain position where we're not really, and I've got no personal issue with Gareth Southgate, besides the fact his mate is Alan Smith, who worked for me, and I'm not a big fan of his. But as far as Southgate is concerned, I think he's done a lot of good things. I think he's been brilliant with the media.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think that's a really important part of the job, and you know that, right?
Very good, yeah.
And I think he's been great at getting some unison back into the playing squad and getting the players back on side where there's less bitching and whining about what they haven't got and more happy about what they have got.
I'm not that refined, that's for sure, as Gareth.
Yeah, maybe.